Hi everyone, welcome to week 15. Prepare to get frustrated. Oh, you thought the Fourth Crusade was like, what were you thinking? Well, get ready for the later Crusades, which I've lumped in all together and always do lump in all together after my first time teaching this course, when it was just like, but these are all the same. They're all stupid. So that is why I consider all of the later Crusades together, because there's a common thread between them. We're going to start off with the Fifth Crusade and Frederick's Crusade. Now, this should be promising. You start reading your textbook and you're like, hey, these people seem to have their act together. Maybe things are going to work out for the Westerners. In a way, the Fifth Crusade reflects the legacy of Richard the Lionheart. They've gone back to Richard's plan to tackle Egypt as the actual heart of the Islamic world, and therefore Egypt is actually the way to Jerusalem, even though that's not geographically so, it is culturally so. So the starting point for this crusade is, let's pick up where the truce left off after the end of the Third Crusade. Let's just ignore the Fourth Crusade altogether. That was an ass show. We're going to do what they failed to do. There's plenty of reasons why this one maybe coulda, shoulda worked. The Pope was taking more control of this crusade. He was like, I'm going to do recruitment right this time. He sent out preachers who were fully trained. Wasn't going to leave it to the chance. He wasn't going to leave it to some mad Ralph or some mad Peter to do it. No, he was going to fully train them. He believed, the Pope, everybody was to be involved. Didn't matter if it was militarily or spiritually, he was getting all of Europe behind him. Now, though, where we do see the big change, and why I have us consider the Northern Crusades the Albigensian Crusades before we get to this point, is that by this time we are clearly seeing the shift in crusading ideology. By the time we're heading the Fifth Crusade, it is very openly, obviously, crusade has changed from it's an armed pilgrimage to take back Jerusalem. It has changed from that to a papally sanctioned war against enemies of the faith. No more is it this same ideology that we saw many weeks ago with, hey, we're all going to go to Jerusalem and we'll get remission of sins and we'll get Jerusalem back. No, now it is enemies of the faith. The key players in this crusade, well, number one is Frederick II. He's Frederick II of the Holy Roman Empire. He is a powerful dude, and he's a clever dude. You'd think this would put them in good stead. Another person is St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis of Assisi is kind of this Crusades version of Bernard of Clairvaux. Bernard of Clairvaux, as we know, was he was the head of the Cistercian order. Well, St. Francis of Assisi, that's a lot of S's there, he started off the Franciscan order. So again, should be good. They've got the leader of one of the most impactful reforming monastic movements in Europe. The Pope that we're dealing with, it's another Pope Innocent. In fact, I believe it's Pope Innocent the Ninth, and if I'm right in thinking that, that's the same one as oh no, that's Gregory I'm thinking of. Right, see, lots of popes. This one's an Innocent though. You can check the number for yourself. Another king who is involved is actually another country we really haven't considered to this point, and that's from Hungary. We've also got King Andrew II of Hungary. Our main written source comes from Oliver of Paderborn. He was an active recruiter for the crusade, and he wrote an account, so pretty good account. So the Fifth Crusade's got a lot going for it. It's got all of this going from the Western perspective, from the Muslim perspective. Yeah, we're past the stage of Saladin. We're back to a period of disunity in the Muslim world. And King Richard the Lionheart's strategy would have worked. And the Muslim leader Al-Kamil offered the Holy Lands, including Jerusalem, but accepting Kerak and Shaubak, as they were the sites. Kerak was a big castle, and these controlled the overland route between Damascus and Cairo. So they were like, okay, you can have it back because we don't really care about it that much, but we do care about our trade routes between our major cities. We ain't giving those over. And that was, yeah, the Westerners didn't really see it that way. As I said, Frederick II should have been a good leader, and he went to Egypt and captured a place called Damietta. This put the Muslims into a panic. So they're in a panic and they're not unified. So what went wrong then? Well, he didn't accept the deal with the Egyptians that he would have been great for. And instead, he's like, no, I'm going to push on. Also, it took these people in this crusade ages to do anything. Frederick took his crusading vow in 1215. In 1215 is often given as the date for this crusade, but he did absolutely nothing until 1218. The Pope's at him constantly, go on crusade, go on crusade, go on crusade, but he doesn't. He doesn't actually leave until 1225. Frederick faffed about, he messed about, but he did send men while he dealt with his issues back in Germany, but he promised he was going to go. It took him 13 years to go on crusade. He also is told Louis of Bavaria, do not accept these peace terms. I want to accept these peace terms, accept anything myself. So the good offer that was made at Damietta was refused. We have another problem here in that, it's a papally sanctioned war. Frederick was excommunicated by the Pope not once, but twice. He led a crusade while still being excommunicated. Now, this is confusing and also problematic, and it means that people might not back you as much as they could. So apart from the fact that he's twice excommunicated, it's kind of funny, the Pope actually encouraged people not to go with him. The Pope was like, you're not going on crusade with somebody who's excommunicated. I know I told him to go, but that was 13 years ago. The tide has changed now. People don't be going with him. So a lot of people would not go on crusade. He probably could have made a difference. That includes clergy. And a lot of the military orders did. The Teutonic Knights went on this crusade because, he's their king, because they're the German order. The rest of them, nah. Because Frederick and Andrew of Hungary faffed about so much on their way here, it actually gave the Muslims a chance to know they were coming and get their act together. So Al-Kamil, the Muslim leader, was able to use this delay to make peace with his brother and start uniting. Then we have the topography issue. Everything was going super well despite these obstacles until they get to Egypt, which is where the star is in this picture, and they decide to pitch their camp in a really stupid place. They decide to pitch their camp between the Nile River and a tributary of the Nile River. Now, if I asked you what is the Nile River famous for, a lot of people say, hey, the Nile River floods famously. Yes, the Nile River does famously flood. This is why the ancient Egyptians, thousands of years ago, were able to be a really advanced society, because the Nile floods, and it floods very regularly. It ain't like the Euphrates in Mesopotamia, which is just like floods whenever it feels like it. The Nile's pretty regular with its floods. And these people camped in a swamp between the Nile and its tributary during flood season. So this meant that the Crusaders, who were all like, oh, we're too cool for school to take your offer of Damietta, they ended up having to give up Damietta in exchange for peace and just to get out. The end. What a... Yeah, that saying, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Oh, that is this crusade. So while we've got the Holy Roman Empire faffing, don't get their act together, excommunicated, the Hungarians aren't much better. They also give up really quickly. they're the kind of the only ones involved, because where are the French? The French, as we know, are pretty enthusiastic about any opportunity to go on crusade. No, they're busy worrying about the Albigensian crusade. That is contemporaneous with this Fifth Crusade. And why, if you're a French crusader, why would you go and camp in a swamp in Egypt when you can go to the beautiful south of France? And I mean, the south of France is lovely. Toulouse is a lovely part of the world. It has great food. It has great wine. It's also close to home. No, the French are going to keep it local. So by the time we get to this crusade, we're starting to really see a shift in this crusading ideology. We start asking questions like, is this going bad because for the Westerners because of the change in what it means to actually crusade and what it means to be a crusader? Is it any more a goal? Are these people united by their goal, or are they seeing it more as, meh, it's a period of service, we do it for our lords and we do it for our church, and they're pretty indifferent beyond that? The other thing is that it's the priests are leading, it's the religious leaders, and the Pope thinks that it's a good idea for this, but these are military men. They don't like being led by priests. They're just like, these people don't know what it is to be me. I'm not going to follow their advice. I wanted advice on praying, I go to a priest, but not on advice on how to fight a crusade. So that means that, lords in the Middle Ages, if they don't like what you've got to tell them and they don't believe that you're their rightful leader, they're going to misbehave. They're going to misbehave. It's like what they do. And so they have a real lack of leadership. Okay, gonna stop this video now. I've got a question for you. I presented a very negative state of affairs, which, don't worry, your textbooks, which you should have already read, but if you haven't already, is going to back me up on. But I am going to ask you for a written question. Is there in any way we consider this a success? And then we're going to pick up with the tail end of this crusade, and then we're going to move into the crusades of, as you guys would say, St. Louis or San Louis.